How's it going, you guys? In this video, I'm just going to explain the most basic things you need to do in order to resolve 95% of health problems most people experience out there. So the first thing is get all your essential nutrients and remove food intolerances. So basically you need to go on an elimination diet where the staple food in your diet is providing you all the nutrients you need to survive, okay? And I'll tell you this, so I was vegan for one entire year, and I thought that I needed whole grains and beans and nuts and seeds in my diet because I thought that they were providing me nutrients that I needed for survival. Little did I know, nutrient deficiencies were originally discovered, and they're mostly relevant only in the state of eating a diet that contains refined foods. So for example, vitamin B deficiency, almost every vitamin B deficiency, in particular B1, was discovered in the context of populations who are eating refined white rice. Well, why would someone develop a disease state without adequate B1 if they're eating nothing but refined white rice? Maybe it's because vitamin B1 and most of the B-complex vitamins' only purpose in the diet is metabolizing energy from these carbohydrates. And when you eat the refined carbs without the B1s, now your body starts to use up its vitamin B stores to metabolize the carbohydrate. And if you don't eat the bran and the other synergistic nutrients with it, you end up with deficiency diseases. But what if you just don't eat those high carb foods in the first place, or let alone the refined carbs? Then do you need to get the adequate recommended daily intake of nutrients? Probably not. And there's really no actual solid 100% proof that you need to match your nutrient intake with the government's allowances. Other than certain ones, things like vitamin D and a couple of other things. But, and that's even maybe not essential. That's debatable. But the reason why I bring that up is because, just like myself, a lot of people think that they need to be eating a lot of these foods that they don't know that they're intolerant to or have allergies to in order to get adequate nutrition. When in reality, if they just remove a lot of these foods, they might find that all of their symptoms of the disease state goes away. For example, I've dealt with a lot of people, and I myself had these problems, where they have Crohn's disease, colitis, chronic constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, psoriasis, eczema, even things like fibromyalgia. And they remove some of them can just remove peanuts. They find they have a peanut and a gluten allergy, and their fibromyalgia pains go away. Other people, they have to just completely remove certain classifications of food because they can't digest them effectively. And when they do this, they find their autoimmune illness, that's their skin rashes and things, their eczema, their psoriasis, their chronic digestive disorders all go away just by removing certain foods. And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, what people find is the foods that they're able to tolerate the easiest are animal foods, animal flesh in particular, so like red meat. And certain people will say things like, oh, I feel sluggish after I eat red meat, so I just avoid it. But what they don't realize is that might be a symptom of low stomach acid. And so after a period of 2 to 3 weeks where they slowly work up a dose of apple cider vinegar before meals, raw, unpasteurized, unfiltered, organic apple cider vinegar, up to doses of 2 tablespoons before an animal protein meal, what they find is they feel better than they ever have before, and they can effectively digest that food. But if your body is not yet used to consuming large amounts of animal protein, it can take some time to build up the lipase enzyme to digest the fat and the stomach acid to digest the proteins and things and break it down and create the pepsin. So, generally speaking, I find elimination diets that base the diet on animal protein remove most of the common allergens like, dairy, gluten, and peanuts and things like that. And in particular, I find an autoimmune paleo diet is the most lenient protocol that seems to work for most people. Some people go to a Whole30 approach, which is similar, or just a basic paleo diet. I personally find the meat and fruit diet is probably the best one for most people to start with, because fruit seems to be the most easily digestible for most people. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The point here is understanding that most problems that people deal with are caused by food intolerances, and the sooner that you experiment with this, keep a food diary, and then add one food at a time for 7 days at a time. Something like Rob Wolf's protocol on Wired to Eat, the 7-day carb tolerance test, or something like that. The sooner that you experiment with this, the sooner you can figure out your health problems, and the sooner you can stop wasting a bunch of money on all these other things. Because I probably spent thousands of dollars on supplements and things that I didn't need since 2012 to deal with health problems that were just caused by the foods I was eating. And instead of spending more money on food, on different foods and supplements and superfoods and things, and more money on books, I actually started to spend less money on certain foods that actually turned out to not be working for me. I stopped buying oatmeal, stopped buying any whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. I stopped buying even things like leafy greens, like raw spinach and crap that I would just see in the toilet. And started spending more money on meat, and then if I was eating carbs, I would do fruit. Some people can tolerate potatoes and sweet potatoes without the skin. Anyway, that is the first thing, okay? The second thing is experimenting with a higher salt intake. I'm talking, at least one teaspoon to 3 teaspoons a day. A lot of people aren't getting enough salt. Most people, they need a minimum of 2 grams of sodium a day, and if you're on a low carb diet, 6 grams of sodium a day. And the sooner that you experiment with that, the sooner that you can figure out, oh my God, like I actually wasn't getting enough sodium to manage my blood volume. Some people need more, some people need less. You'll never know until you experiment. So, the next thing is meditation, reading philosophy books, reading psychology. So, a lot of people, they address their chronic physical and psychological health problems, or they can address their disease states, and they find that they still are suffering psychologically. And I found this to be the case for myself. In 2015, I solved my chronic digestive disease and my psoriasis and whatnot by switching to autoimmune paleo diet. But then I noticed I was still having these really weird stress issues, and I found removing a lot of the harsher caffeine things in my diet, like removing isolated caffeine and pre-workouts and stimulants and drinking more tea helped, and consuming more calming herbs like holy basil and L-theanine and chamomile helped. But then establishing a meditation practice where I just sit and I observe my thoughts, okay? And I don't judge them, I just watch them, which can be really hard for most people to do because they can't just sit there without Facebook and things. I found that this helped a lot. The next thing is developing mindfulness, which is part of the meditation and part of removing stimulation. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is just being aware of the present moment, essentially. And you can really develop this skill because it's a muscle you got to build, especially in this day and age where we're constantly bombarded with all the stimulation of social media and all these infinite amounts of choice. You're probably scrolling through recommended videos as you watch this video, which is exactly what I'm talking about. Mindfulness is forcing yourself to be focused on one thing at a time. Mindfulness is drinking your coffee without listening to music, without watching a YouTube video, without anything else, and without letting your mind go off. And it's bringing your awareness back to the taste of the liquid, to the heartburn the coffee might cause some people, feeling the sensations of the drink in your throat, and paying attention to your breath and filling the breath, fill your body with oxygen, feeling the sensations of the vagus nerve producing endorphins when you take an efficient breath. These are mindfulness. Another really efficient thing that I found to be very powerful is playing some music and focusing, like channeling your focus entirely on that music. Literally watching the music with your mind. So if you don't understand what I mean, then you need this the most, okay? Watching music with your mind. Watching the drink with your mind, okay? Watching the breath with your mind. That's what you need. That's mindfulness, and that will solve most people's psychological problems. Because most people are wrapped up in these stories of yesterday, okay? Or these stories of what they think might happen in the future that hasn't happened yet, and they actually don't know it's going to happen. So that can help most people's problems too, is developing mindfulness. And the first place to start, again, just like in your nutrition, it's not so much that you need to add more things, it's that you need to remove certain things. So what is the most prominent thing that people need to remove that's toxifying their mind? Social media, pornography, and in particular, scrolling. Okay? In particular, multitasking. You're polluting your mind with multitasking, because what's happening is your mind is no longer able to find enjoyment in important things. But now, nothing seems important to you because you're numb to it, because your mind is used to and numb to and desensitized to millions of things at once. So what I'm saying here, a lot of people suffer from andohenia or anhedonia. I can't say it properly, but it's basically inability to experience pleasure. I need to make an entire video about this because I've come to an insane premonition or whatever, a realization of what seems to really be causing such an uprise in andohenia, and for me myself, what caused that in the first place. But essentially, what you're doing is, so back when you were a child, if you remember, you were able to go out on the playground, or at least I was, climb a tree and just be like in the pinnacle of life and feel amazing. Part of that is because the mind of a child in that environment is mindfulness. I'm completely absorbed in the present moment because I don't have the habits of adulthood, where you have to worry about your job and your bills and constantly be checking your calendar and all this other crap, and anticipating things in the mail that tell you whether you're going to lose your house or not. No, as a child, you're completely wrapped up in the present moment and climbing the tree and having fun in these things, and you don't really care about all this other crap. And as an adult, if you do use time management effectively and other things, and you establish systems in place, you can definitely still have this mindfulness of a child. And that's something you need to seek if you're seeking true health, peace of mind, and basically just feeling comfortable in your own skin. Is, obviously taking responsibility and all this crap, but being able to absorb yourself in the present moment. And a big part of that is removing the millions of different things you'll see scrolling through Facebook in one 60-second stretch. Removing multitasking, okay? Removing these things so basically when you do all this multitasking, it's creating habits in your mind. Habits of when you go through life, now your brain is addicted to multitasking. It's addicted to drifting off, okay? So for example, you're watching my YouTube video right now, and if you find yourself scrolling through the recommended tab, which by the way, YouTube wants you to do. YouTube wants you to click off this video and get more ad revenue and more profit for them by clicking and clicking and being like a fucking scatterbrain rat. They don't want you to just be so mindful on this video and pay 100% attention to it. They want for an ad to pop up randomly and ruin your fucking focus. They're training, like and so this is very profitable to social media for you to be scrolling like a mindless zombie, but it's not profitable for you. It ruins your brain, literally ruins your brain, changes it on a physical level. And so you need to be able to focus on one thing at a time. So YouTube is not a problem. It's the multitasking that's the problem. It's the constant seeking of novelty that's the problem. Because you're so addicted to new things that you can't appreciate this one experience now. So for example, what I started to find, and my damn psychologist, my therapist couldn't identify this, you know, probably because I need a new one. But I was struggling with this problem for years, and my psychologist couldn't recognize it. But I had a problem where I was trying to play video games back in 2012 when these problems first started happening, and I couldn't just play one video game. I kept like looking for a new video game, and every time I'd put a video game on, I'd lose interest, and I needed a new one. And I couldn't like draw the correlation between, well, shit, I had just started, I got a new phone, like a smartphone, for the first time in my life, and I was on Facebook all the damn time at the time. And apparently it's because I trained my mind with using the internet to constantly seek new, novel stimuli. And so I could no longer just play one video game and appreciate it like when I was a kid. I had to keep looking for new stimuli because Facebook and social media robbed my ability to be absorbed in the present moment, to appreciate one thing at a time. And I think this has happened to a lot of people in their relationships. I think human beings are more likely to cheat now because I think pornography has trained, especially, just the minds of both male and female, believe it or not, they both watch porn, to seek new partners, new videos, and it hijacks their brain and they don't realize it. And you have all these zombies who will watch my videos on NoFap and why porn is bad for your brain, and they're like, no, you're wrong, you're just Christian or something, which I'm not. And there's nothing wrong with self-pleasure or whatever. There's nothing wrong with self-love, they say, which is such a perverted way of thinking. Perverted in a sense, disturbing, that they call that self-love. It's the exact opposite, self-destruction. People are completely unaware of how these things are polluting their brain. And I spent so much time talking about this because it's so profound, and it's, again, one of the most life-changing things you can do. And you know that it's life-changing, and you know it's a huge problem when you realize that there's millions of people on the internet, there's communities dedicated to this crap, no surf, no porn, and people have been struggling with this shit for years and they can't get off of it. Do you fucking think maybe it's because it's addictive as shit? I think so. And, it's no surprise that not only are these people struggling to get off of the surfing, the web, and the instant gratification of social media and pornography and whatnot, not only are they addicted, but they're suffering and they're not satisfied with life, and they're certain that this is the cause. This is probably a cause. There's many different ways to address it, but the most important thing for you to develop mindfulness is to remove the main things that are training your brain to be out of the present moment. So I'll have to make an entire other video, or maybe cut this video and make it one as well. So that's another thing you need to do for your psychological health. So what's the next thing you need to do for your psychological health? So create a breathing practice, because deep breathing, oxygenation, the Wim Hof method, is very important for physical health, but also mental health and calming yourself. But if you use breathing as a mindfulness practice and you sit with your breath and develop it, you can be developing your breathing and your oxygenation, improving your physical health and your mental health all at the same time while developing mindfulness. And that can be your mindfulness practice that has multiple benefits and covers a variety of different aspects, including your cardiovascular health, your mental health, your vascular health, respiratory health. and you're training your brain to be in the present moment all at the same time. So that's pretty profound and a very effective use of your time, is developing a breathing practice. And training your brain to be able to focus on something boring is basically what meditation can be. That's what I would say is the definition of meditation. Compare that to something like playing guitar, which, you know, have elements of can be a mindfulness activity, but your brain can drift off while you're playing guitar. Your mind can drift off when you're out in nature. Your mind can drift off when you're gardening. Your mind can drift off when you're doing a variety of different things. Meditation is a practice of forcing your brain, well, not forcing your brain, but training your brain to listen to your intention. Okay? That's what meditation really is. And so a breathing practice is the best way to develop meditation at the same time as all different other amounts of spectrum of benefits. So, anyway. Next thing is changing your stories to be more effective to your life. So a lot of people, they walk through their life and they let their environment and the people in their environment and the situations they deal with control the stories they tell themselves, which controls their future. So what am I talking about here? Well, let's say I walk into jiu-jitsu in about 1 hour and I'm like pumped up and I'm super happy. And I'm like, what's up, guys? How's it going? Os. How's it going, brother? And Os is jiu-jitsu speak for respect, basically. And I'm clapping everyone's hands. I'm super happy, like usual. But then I got there's these rare individuals who are offended by my energy. And they're like this one guy. He's like, yeah, man, you got too much fucking energy, man. You need to calm down. And everyone else is digging it. My instructors especially, they encourage my positive energy. And they're like, I love the enthusiasm, man. Like, you know, every time I see you, it puts a smile on my face. It's contagious. Then these two guys, they're jealous of my energy. Like, oh, you got too much energy. My response is, you can never have too much energy, man. Let me know if you need some tips. And it pisses them off because they're probably suffering on the inside. And then they see this guy who just doesn't care, who is free. And they want that. But they can't admit that to themselves, that they're angry because they wish that they had it. And so they project their own misery onto me. They're like, oh, you have too much energy. Fuck you. And so so what a lot of people do, and what that guy probably has a habit of doing, is allowing this person to influence my story. Like, that guy's right. I'm being abnormal in a social situation. I'm being socially abnormal. I'm being crazy because when I was younger, I was diagnosed with these mental disorders, and everyone used to tell me I had all these problems, right? But of course, I solved it on my own, got off the medication, and now I'm doing everything my psychologist said I couldn't do because I didn't let those stories dictate my future, like most people do. Well, this situation, the guy telling me, oh, you have too much energy, it's similar to what my teachers used to tell me. Too much energy, this guy needs to be on medication, right? Well, it could trigger these stories in my head like, oh, he's right. I'm too hyper. Oh, no, I should be on medication for my hyperactivity. Maybe I should calm down because this one guy in this social setting doesn't like my behavior. Therefore, I'm acting crazy. I'm acting weird. I'm acting awkward. Or I'm acting crazy. I should change myself because this one guy has a problem with it. Really? And so, honestly, I've come to the realization now, as a mature adult, that it is important to recognize when you're crossing the line. Because if I'm just freaking the fuck out and I'm being really obnoxious, there's a time and place for that, and you got to be aware of how you're making everyone else feel. But if there's just like one or two people who just they just don't like you, and you really honestly assess the situation, you're like, am I actually creating problems here? And you realize, and you think about it, and you're like, well, you know what? I'm not actually hurting anybody. I'm not really being that obnoxious. I just like get really, really excited at the end of class because it was a great class. My teachers are giving me compliments for this trait of enthusiasm. And this guy just seems to have some problems. Him himself isn't. He does some kind of strange things too. Strange things that kind of give me a really strange vibe. Should I change myself for this one guy when everyone else, no one else has a problem with it, and my instructors actually encourage it? Sounds to me like my instructors encourage it, so I'm doing a good thing, and they like it. And generally, when people are doing things that the higher-ups like, you have a couple people who have a problem with it because they're fucking jealous, because they want that shit too. And usually there's an underlying belief in themselves where they feel disempowered. And you're showing them, hey, I'm empowered. And these disempowered people, they don't believe that they can get that power themselves, even though they can. And so they try to tear you down, because they don't feel like they can get to where you're at. And even though these people might be higher belts than me, right? They might have been doing this for years longer than me. In the sport that we're doing, they're better than me. But as a human being, they for some reason they're like trying to get what I want. They don't think they can get what I have or whatever, my energy or whatever. Point here that what I'm trying to convey here is just one example of how people will try to tear you down. The situations will try to tear you down. Like you might lose your job, and then some people, their stories are like, I'm just not good enough, or this always happens to me, or I'm not good enough for this job, or whatever it might be. It could be, there's a lot of like, I'm just, money's hard to get or something. There's the reality of the thing, like I have this enthusiasm and this energy. The reality of the thing is, besides that, is my instructors encourage it, or no one else has a problem with it. And then there's the stories we tell ourselves, like, my instructors just want me to be positive and be enthusiastic because I'm making a fool of myself. Like, that's so fucking stupid, but some people might say that. Or this person this person says that I have too much energy, I'm too hyper. I'm crazy. I'm weird. I need to stop. It's going to make you feel discouraged. It's going to make you change, and then you might not do as well. You might have social anxiety, like, oh shit, I don't want to go to jiu-jitsu today. I'm scared to go to jiu-jitsu because, there's these two people that don't like me. So, don't let your environment dictate your situation. So a lot of this, so another thing you can do is change your story by using affirmations. So every single day you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself, you can repeat to yourself your goals. Like, I am a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, or I feel so happy that I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm so happy now that I have a blue belt around my waist given to me by my professor, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I am so happy and grateful now that I'm bettering millions of people around the world with my YouTube videos. I am so happy and grateful that, whatever your goal is, say it in the present tense and create a visualization for yourself and really feel it and view it with your visualization. That's positive affirmations. Do it in the morning, do it in the nighttime. And then as you go throughout your day, use affirmations to try to guide your focus. So a lot of people, they don't understand the law of attraction or affirmations and all that. And they think that the law of attraction affirmations is meant to, like, I have an elephant and manifest a fucking elephant in the room. No, that's not how it is. Or I have Carmen Electra as a girlfriend. Like, no, that's not what it is. Instead, use affirmations to put yourself in a mental state that attracts other things that are compatible with that mental state. And what happens is you start to see synchronicities, search that up, where I'm thinking about this, sometimes you can manifest the exact thing you're thinking about sometimes, and that's synchronicity for you. It's happened to me many times. You think about a friend that you've, not seen in years, and the chances of him showing up in your situation are very slim. And then he just shows up out of nowhere the next day. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? That happens a lot to me. And the more you notice it, the more it happens, which is crazy. But basically, in a more practical and realistic sense, you start to think, you know, I love my life, I love my life, I love my life, you know, and then you sort of think, like, force yourself to focus on all the things you enjoy and you love. And you start to see more of that in your reality. And a lot of it, like, some of it might just be confirmation bias showing up in your reality. Like, you know, you think about, let's say you think about, like, oh, I get all these bargains on protein powders. You know, I always find the best bargains on protein powders, and you just happen to see them, maybe, right? You see them more, even though they've always been there. Other times, though, it's like, you know, for what, like, let's say every single day, you know, I try to get a parking space that I want, and it's never there. Like, so it's always occupied. But then I start to think to myself, oh, I always get great parking spaces. I always do, and it's no big deal either way. Then that parking space starts to open up every single time, over time. You know, you can think, oh, you know, it's just a coincidence, but I don't know. I found the more that I train myself to look for these things, and the key is not just, you know, telling yourself, I always get good parking spaces. The key is also to being detached from it, in the sense that, it's cool, I don't care either way. But I'm just having fun with it. It's a game now. I always get good parking spaces, and you'll see it in your reality. And it seems to be magic over time. The problem people face is they get frustrated, and people are like angry at law of attraction, and they're angry at these gurus talk about the law of attraction, and then they have these stories they tell themselves about the law of attraction. They're like, oh, these gurus are bad people, they're giving false hope, and they're making millions of dollars off of seminars to teach them wishful thinking. Which is not necessarily wrong in many cases. But at the same time, to say that the law of attraction is bullshit because there's a select few people who are making movies and things off of people's lack of understanding, that in and of itself really is just doing you a disservice, because now you're never going to be able to take advantage of the law of attraction because you just choose to have a very narrow-minded view of it, when in reality it might have some very good practical application. But that anger towards it is what makes it not work. Like, oh, like, you know, I want that parking space, whatever. Damn, I just wish that I could always get a fucking good parking space. Or I just wish that, you know, like, fuck, man, like, I wish people would like me, or fuck, like, that is the problem that most people face. It's not, sometimes, so the thoughts are one thing, but then the emotions are the other. Now, when you align your thoughts, words, and actions with the things you want to manifest, now they are created in your reality. So, that's a huge thing. Is learning how to actually use the law of attraction. And I have a video, I think it's called Law of Attraction 101 or something, that I released a couple days ago. I'm going to have to make a playlist, because I notice even searching for these videos with my channel name in YouTube, the algorithm doesn't bring it up. It brings up a bunch of bullshit that I didn't even search for. So I'll have to make a playlist for you all to find it easier. So that's the other thing. So that's the next big secret that I found to create an awesome life and deal with health problems and shit. So what's the other thing? So, I mean, when you conquer the law of attraction, you can conquer most of your life problems just as a side effect of, you know, channeling your mind, of conquering your mind. And even things like mindfulness become kind of more prominent. Like, they kind of just take care of themselves. Like, the law of attraction is this amazing principle that kind of just takes care of everything else in your life a lot of times, if you really understand it. So there's that. Because, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, like, you know, I have a health problem, and I keep telling myself I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, but I don't get healthy. Well, maybe that's because you're trying to manifest good health without actually doing things that make you feel healthy. You know, because if you don't feel healthy right now and you're eating a bunch of foods that make you feel unhealthy, as long as you do the actions that make you feel that way, you're going to continue to feel that way. The key is if I always talk about politics to my mom and it makes me angry, it makes me feel uneasy, then I can tell myself, oh, I'm fine and dandy and peaceful all I want till I'm blue in the face, but as long as I continue to talk about politics to my mom, I'll feel like shit. And one breakthrough that I found is just not talking about the things that make me feel like shit. And then that shit will not manifest in my relationships and in my reality. The same thing goes for everything. If talking about money makes you feel poor, stop talking about money. And if other people bring up things that make you feel a certain way, you need to be able to learn how to channel your energy elsewhere. Or learn how to, when you start to feel an emotion, learn how to transform it. And that's called transmutation. There's emotional transmutation, sexual transmutation. They talk about that in Think and Grow Rich. And I found that to be very powerful for, I guess you can say, guarding your energy or something. But, so yeah, that's enough about law of attraction. So then of course you have like tonic herbs, right? So tonic herbs. And I think herbalism is great. But I found the law of attraction, so I found, certain herbs like mucuna can work for a while, then you build a tolerance to it, and it doesn't seem to give you the same instant boost it used to. Theanine seems to work a lot of times, but sometimes you get a poor product that's not very potent, and sometimes you might just build a tolerance to it. And sleep really helps, but you can't always get a good sleep. So something I found is that I found the law of attraction seems to actually overtake anything. Anytime I'm dealing with something, really bad situation, if I can just tap into aligning my emotions with the vibrations I want to attract, that I start to attract more of those things, regardless of the tonic herbs I'm taking or anything else. But a lot of people, they need help getting started, and tonic herbs can help. So things like holy basil, reishi mushroom, I think those are the best things to start with. And I found personally holy basil, take it in the evening. If you take a certain extract, I think the Gaia herbs and Nature's Answer, was it Nature's Answer? I don't remember. I think it was Nature's Answer. It was in the green and white box, but those two were really good. Now Foods holy basil really helps. I actually found an insane deal on holy basil, and now that I'm talking about it, I'm probably going to find more deals here soon by the nature of the law of attraction, because it's been my experience before. This is kind of how it works. You start to talk about something, feel real good about it, and you visualize and you remember it, and then you start to see it, synchronicities in your reality. But I was using the law of attraction. I started manifesting holy basil in my reality. I went to Sprouts and I found holy basil extracts by Nature's Way that was usually like $20 per container, and it was on sale for $4 a container. And I just loaded up on holy basil, and I had holy basil for forever after that, and I found that to be very powerful. And in fact, I'm probably going to start to buy more holy basil here soon, because I haven't really taken a good extract of holy basil in a while, and I found that really benefits me. Anyway, holy basil can really, really help you. Tonic herbs can help. Switching out your normal pre-workout for something like green tea, yerba mate, and if you have to have some pre-workout and you want something that's just nice and quick, you can get, I like Amazing Grass, who makes superfood powders. They have a product, it's their energy line, which has about 100 milligrams of caffeine from green tea, like matcha green tea, and yerba mate, powdered yerba mate. And I find that seems to work amazingly as a pre-workout. Not only is it very low in net carbs and sugar, it does contain some goji berry and nightshades, and it might hurt some people as far as food intolerances. But I've actually found that it seems to provide me with amazing energy, and it seems to hydrate me. It seems to have enough electrolytes and be isotonic in a way that prevents cramps and dehydration. And it's a good substitute for harsh pre-workout powders. I think coffee can be great, but it can also cause digestive distress and acid reflux if you get a kind of like a cheap coffee. and it tends to cause kind of like a burnt out feeling in a lot of people. So switching to yerba mate is good, but a lot of people, they only have like 20 minutes and they want to get out the door, and I find that the best way to do that is drink some matcha green tea powder, or some kind of instant tea powder like in the Amazing Grass that I found worked amazing. So that's good for lowering stimulation, which will make you sleep better. It'll lower your anxiety and still give you a boost of energy in a way that's more conducive to feeling good. I kind of went all over the place in this video, so I'm just going to call it Wolfgang's biggest health secrets. So I'm just going to put that down. And maybe make more videos like this where I just forget about being scientifically correct, and I forget about, trying to convince other people that, red meat seems to be like the foundation food. I'm gonna just say what I think and not worry about convincing people. Mostly because, I can't change other people's opinions anyway. If most people, I can talk about all the science and this and that, and they're just gonna think I'm a fucking quack either way. And it's like, whatever. That's part of I watched a video yesterday of this Taoist guy who had a very good point, and he said basically that you could be like the nicest guy ever and make it your daily mission to just not piss someone off and mind your own business always and be super quiet. And there's still gonna be some people who don't like you, who like maybe even hate you. And like no matter what you do, you're always gonna have someone who doesn't like you. And so trying to change other people's minds, trying to control how people think to any degree is just faulty. And all it does is prevent you from, first of all, being free, and second of all, aligning with the people that actually will like you. And so anyway, forget all that. Let me know down in the comments if you watched this entire video. Let me know what you think. Personally, I think this is probably one of the best videos I've ever made because it's so comprehensive and dives deep into how I really feel, and it covers so many of the most effective things that you can do to improve your health. Talk to you guys next time.